I'll ask you, health and fitness of the squad first. Andreas back in from suspension. I think Medin promoted as well. Everyone named fit and healthy and ready to go?
Yep. Everyone's fit and healthy. So, we had a bit of a quiet week last week, obviously, with the international break. We had, obviously, Aziz and Beachy away. We also had Jaden Nikovsky, Pete Antonio and Lawrence Wong away with the under-20s. So we had a bit of a lighter group last week. So that was good. And back into the swing of things again this week in prep for tomorrow's game. And to be honest, important week for us because it's more than likely going to be a season-defining week for us with the 3 games coming up.
Aziz played for the Roos on Tuesday, but he didn't have to get on a plane or anything after that. So is he fully fit and ready to go for the Wanderers?
Yep, he's all fine. He came in on, he's had his own little recovery on the Wednesday. He came in, had a very light session yesterday. He'll join the team again today and he'll be ready for tomorrow.
Just on some of your more long-term outmates, well, first, Matt Leckie, he had the surgery with the hope that he'd be able to get back before the end of the season. Is that still the goal?
Yeah, he's taken a little bit longer than we had originally thought, but he's joined the group most of last week, most of this week again, so he's just building himself up. But touch wood, up to this point, he looks fine. Obviously, it's been a long time since he's been playing football, and it's been quite a while since he's had a big load in terms of his training load. But at this stage, he's looking okay. So I can't give you a time when we think he's going to be ready for some minutes. But the season's going very, very quickly. There's only 5 games left. He's not involved tomorrow. Tuesday, I'm not sure. Maybe the following week, Wellington on the Sunday is probably his first chance to, if everything goes well between now and then, probably a first chance to have a look at him.
And Takeshi and Ale, what are their chances of getting back before the end of the season?
No, they're both very slim. Takeshi still has a little bit of pain in his knee. Nali still has a little problem with his muscle, with his quad. So they'll be very unlikely between now and the end of the season. But everyone else is healthy, training well. So as I said, it's probably a season-defining week for us. So got to be ready for a strong and tricky opponent tomorrow night for sure.
Well, because you've got the Wanderers coming in, that obviously the campaign hasn't gone the way they would have planned, but what do you need to do to make sure that you pick up what, as you say, is a pivotal 3 points?
Yeah, look, I thought our last 2 games, Sydney, we took 3 points there. We probably should have done more in the last 15 minutes against the Perth game to secure the 3 points. Probably in a normal season, you would say, 4 points from 6 for those 2 games would be acceptable, but the situation we're in, we needed those extra couple of points that would have put us in a much better position. The safety of margin, I've said that quite a few times, that it's getting smaller and smaller all the time. So we have to be at our very best, or close to our best, and I think we've shown that for a lot of the times in the course of the year and even the last couple of games, but we haven't been able to, like the Perth game, just close out the game, which we've done well previously. So we have to be totally concentrated for 100 minutes. They're a team that loves to attack. We've seen the number of attempts they've had at goal throughout the whole season, and probably, with a little bit of luck, going their way, they should be in a much higher position than they are on the table at the moment.
Because I guess as a coach, with the stakes of these games, regardless of what your side does in or out of possession, I guess, is intensity in these games one of the big demands for you, regardless of, what they're doing with the ball, without it? Everything has to be intense and aggressive given the stakes.
Well, that's our game, and that's what we try to do every game. It's not the situation that we're in that we all of a sudden need intensity. We need intensity in every game, and that's part of what we do, and we just have to sustain it for longer periods. And most of the time when we're on, that's what we're very, very good at. We've got good concentration, we've got great levels of intensity, and it's just not the it's an individual intensity, and when the individual has that intensity, it just translates into a team intensity, and that's what we're looking for.
Because when you look at the side, Aurelio, haven't been able to score in bunches throughout this season. You've been going ahead, getting one goal, and as you said, you've been good at seeing games out, but you haven't been seeing them out with a 2 or 3 goal cushion too often. Towards the end of the season, have you been working on something during the break, or are you confident you can maybe find a way to start scoring in bunches?
Well, it would be nice. I think a lot of the times when we've had good control and a hell of a lot of the game, we haven't managed to get that second goal, and that's what's hurt us many times. We've got that first goal and not been able to get that second one, and then when you don't get the second one, you put yourself under a lot more pressure, and it only takes one lapse of concentration, and you concede a goal, and then you find it difficult to finish off and close games. So that's been our focus, to make sure that if we score early, which we have quite a few times this year, that we're able to get that second one and then try to control the game on our own terms. But when you don't get that second one, you're always vulnerable, and that's happened to us quite a few times this season.
And I know with the quick turnarounds this week, but dare I say it, you're sort of in a position on the table wherein you can't sort of coach with one eye on Tuesday. Tomorrow, You've just got to coach for every single game as is.
Yeah, it's one game, one performance at a time for us, and we've been in this situation before, Joey. We've played, I think from October to the end of January, we're playing on average a game every 4.5 days. And obviously that's taken its toll somewhere down the track. So we've been in this situation before. We know how to prepare for these moments. Our focus again is solely on what's going to happen tomorrow against West Sydney, and then once that game's over, we'll be back on Easter Sunday, back in Casey, and recovering and preparing for the game on Tuesday against the Mariners.
And mate, I wanted to ask Daniel Arzani. I won't beat around the bush about it. Reports come out the other day that he's had a falling out with some of the senior players.
Yeah, massive fallout.
In the squad.
Yeah, massive.
That his attitude's been questioned.
Yeah. Can
you comment on that? Has he had a falling out with the senior members?
Yeah, well, that's a lot of crap. So that's just to squash it. When we spoke about that yesterday, we spoke again this morning. Look, there's always rumour and innuendo, and whoever, I know Marco had put his name to that story, but it's totally false, and I think it's poor form. If you're not going to come out and disclose where you heard that information, then the rest of it's crap. So, I've been here 2.5 years, and we've had different issues through my 2.5 years, and not once has something like this ever come up. And we've had stoushes on the pitch, we've had lots of different things happen, but potentially, well, it's not potentially, it's when the team's not going well, something like that always sparks up. But it's totally false. The players are not happy with it, but we can't do anything about that. our focus is just concentrate and do whatever we need to do to get 3 points tomorrow. So, the story's false, and things like that do hurt the group, the playing group, because we've only got 10 or 12 senior players here. The rest are under 23 players, so they're pretty young. So that's a stain on obviously the senior players here at the club, and it's totally false. So it's quite poor form from Marco, unfortunately.
And so and how is, I guess, following on from that, the morale of the squad given the high stakes coming up? Are they in good spirits?
Excellent.
They're in good.
Excellent. For me, when our mentality, especially when we go into the park, when our mentality is at a high level, then we're very hard to play against, and our focus has to be always that our mentality and our spirit and our will is at a very high level. Just early this morning, we had a meeting, and when they walk into the theatre, they're chirping like birds. So the atmosphere around the group is very positive. So, and that hasn't been an issue for us. And as long as I'm here, that will never be an issue, because there's so much to. One, we got so much to play for, and we're playing a game that, and we're in a profession that. Very few have the ability and to do, and they don't take it lightly. That it's a serious job. They get on well with each other. We've got such a strong leadership group here, and nothing like that anyway is going to get in the way of what we need to do. So I'm really, in a way, proud to be able to coach this group. I know we've had some difficulties this year, but that's all part of what professional sport is about, So our job is to make sure that we're all aligned, and we certainly are aligned, and that we go out tomorrow and we show why we are who we are.